Yeah.
Oh, my question is, first of all, I just want to say how wonderful and how interdisciplinary everything is, or very, the collaboration, the collaborative.
An open system, a dissipative structure. Energy eats at, what is it, entropy?
And one question I had is about, first of all, I think it's so important about the meditative approach that you've been talking about with war and peace and that kind of thing. And basically, the spiritual side is how, basically, for you personally, do you detach sometimes from the meditation of this intense thing like war? And, and I do feel that artists, we have it can be very, it is activism. It's important to be activists and to be raising up these issues and stuff like that. But how do you personally detach from it when so much?
Well, I don't think you ever detach. I spoke a little last night about going down to Occupy Wall Street a lot in New York, and involved with a group of meditators. It's called the Interdependence Project, young Buddhist activists. And so you're sitting in this very intense environment, all this concrete reality, the drumming going on, people walking by, and so many tourists and reporters and so on, just constantly paparazzi, and you're trying to maintain some kind of sense of your breath and taking your seat on this pavement. So it's both, I think, and I think a lot of us invoke Keats's sense of negative capability, being able to hold disparate things, the contradictions in the mind without any irritable reach after fact or reason. So, and in Buddhism there's descriptions of that kind of mind where you don't get lost in extremes, whether it's total nihilism or total eternalism, and you just take your seat with, and we know we live within contradictions and within these incredible binaries and incredible suffering and so on. So I think it's a mind practice that helps, and a view, the right view, and also that you drive all blames into oneself. That's one of the ATHICA's slogans. So before you start blaming, and in fact even in Bill's introduction he refers to what the kinds of things that go on with us even though we're not in war and fighting war. Just the little petty resentments and anger that arises. So there's constantly this, it sounds a little pious, this self-correction and so on, but it's just, they're reminders to do this. I mean, of course you get incredibly lost and sad and very down with, so many of the vicissitudes and suffering of others and oneself and within one's own, world. There's somebody always sick and dying, but I think that to be able to hold your seat in the extremes, and also as artists you have this imagination. You can imagine other ways of being, and you can help create communities that are an antithesis and can run parallel to the war machine and everything else that's going on. I mean, the wars aren't even going to be fought by human beings anymore. I mean, the development of these incredibly complex drones that have the qualities of animals, the insects and snakes, and I mean, the military already employs sharks. I mean, they have a couple of animals still working, but they're not even training soldiers in new weaponry. So that's getting strange. And the weather weaponry. That now we have the capability to create hurricanes and floods, and it's just who is dreaming up these? So you can also project a kind of antithetical utopia against the dystopia, but it's a practice. It's not something you can't just. I mean, it's hard to just walk away from it, but you work with it. I think and that's probably the meditative approach. You work with it in your own mind, and you dedicate the merit. Anything that's happening that's good for you, you can dedicate that merit towards others, that kind of thing. So I'd say it's a mental practice.
Excellent answer, thank you.
Can I just ask on the back of that, about the role of poetry in social change or activism. Like
Well,
that-
poetry is what can help wake the world up to itself. I remember when Allen and I sort of talked about that and formulated that idea with the Naropa project. So the vision of poetry, or by extension other art forms, can help be a mirror and help the world wake up to itself. It's not that it's, you know, creating the utopia all the time, I mean, as we know. Yeah?
You're talking about all these things happening in the military. If you got the chance to meet people, like if you got a chance to meet people who are thinking up all those things, would you take it? And if you did, what would you talk to them about?
Well, I do research, and so I include it in my work. You know, there's something in the Iovis, the last part, about I think weather weaponry, and Fukushima comes in there, and I've been working with many others for years with the Rocky Flats situation in Colorado. This was a place that brought in plutonium to make the triggers for warheads, and so we, you know, been protesting. The place is completely it's gone, it's shut down, but it's still incredibly toxic because plutonium has a half-life of nearly, you know, 250,000 years. And so we're trying to bring, as a community, bring attention to the fact that it's still polluted, and we do not want a theme park there. We do not want a refuge center there. It's just completely, you know, ridiculous.